I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, folks. Like Squil, CMSCAF, Kwanasi Lumnola. We respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Hul'qumi'num speaking people, where we live, learn, and play. Adoption of the agenda that the Board of Education, School District 79, Cowichan Valley adopts the agenda of the October 3rd open board meeting, moved by Trustee Thorn, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda. This is where we get to put all of our minutes together. We received the minutes of the May 23rd, 2023 BBC. We were receiving the highlights of the September 19th, 2023 Advisory Committee meeting, and we'll be receiving the minutes of the September 21st, 2023 DPAC meeting. That the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley approves the consent agenda items of the open board meeting of October 3rd, 2023 as presented. Moved by Trustee Croft, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the September 5th open board meeting that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of September 5th, 2023 open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Elise. All those in favor? Thank you. The Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of the September 21st, 2023 special open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Thorn, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you. Recognition and delegations. This is just a nice warm heart one. So we would like to recognize Good Samaritans Rusty Hashimoto and Jacob Ball. The Board of Education would like to recognize two of our custodial team for their good deed in providing assistance to a vacationing couple from Austria. Rusty and Jacob are itinerant custodial workers who support the district and travel to where they are needed. One of their dinner breaks, they were stopped at a Subway when they noticed a man and a woman in distress. They asked the couple if they could help and found out that they had lost their keys in the car. Rusty and Jacob decided to help the couple who were on vacation from Austria. Rusty drove the woman named Heidi to another set of keys at a hotel while Jacob stayed with the man named Carl. While in the conversation, the couple heard that Rusty and Jacob were working at Ximena Secondary School that day. When the couple returned to Austria, they sent pictures of their hometown in Austria and of the adventure to Ximena Secondary with a thank you to Rusty and Jacob for assisting them in their time of need. When the facilities manager was at Ximena Secondary, the principal asked if they knew that the two school district staff were in this photo. Well, that's how Rusty and Jacob's good deed was discovered. Carl and Heidi also send their emails, and Rusty and Jacob have been in touch with them. Tonight, we would like to offer a sincere thank you to Rusty and Jacob for their good deed. We are proud of the work that you do for the benefit of our students, staff, and school communities of the Cowichan Valley School District, and the board is so pleased to recognize Rusty and Jacob with our token of thanks. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You guys. Heartwarming. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
It makes for a small world, right? It's just like
Right. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Report of the closed meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. The board met in closed session just prior to this open session. The board received personnel updates, updates on contracts, and updates on property items.
7.1 action list. Mr. Sandquist, you seem to be all over this.
Thank you. So take the agenda there. So on the action list is primarily related to the Cowichan Secondary School closure and disposal process. I'm going to announce that the public meeting will be held on November 14th in lieu of the board's planning session. We are going to set the date and time, we're going to set the time and specific exact location shortly, but just so you can hold that in your calendars. And at that meeting, we will go over all of the data required to consult in a public open meeting on the closure or potential for disposal of Cowichan Secondary School.
Any questions on the action list? Seeing none, Superintendent of Schools.
All right, moving on to 8.1.1, personnel update. I just want to share with the board that the posting for the Assistant Transportation Manager closed on September the 22nd, and interviews were held last week and this morning, and soon we will be hiring a new Assistant Transportation Manager. And then secondly, with regard to the Director of Operations, there was a posting that went out on September the 19th, and it closed today on October the 3rd. So we will be doing shortlisting and interviews in the next few weeks. Moving on to 8.1.2, I just wanted to share with the board that Mike Greenslade has been appointed the temporary vice principal at the Cowichan School, and that was effective last week on September the 26th. And then I'd like to move on for board information under 8.2.1 with regard to enrollment. And so I have in front of me here, it was given to me by our Secretary Treasurer, that we were expecting around 76 new students enrolling, and our actual number was 130. So we are overall projection above what was anticipated by 54 FTE, full-time equivalent students. I think the work last week with regard to our secondary learners resulted in this little bit of an unexpected number. So we have gone up by 54 FTE over our projection. So overall, we have 8,565 students in the Cowichan Valley School District.
Yes, Jessica?
5,865, is that FTE or individuals?
It is FTE, so full-time equivalent, not headcount.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to 8.2.2. We have a photo, I believe. I just wanted to put it up there, but the Cowichan Valley School District respectfully acknowledges Every Child Matters and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Trustees and numerous staff were at the local Every Child Matters march in Duncan yesterday on October the 2nd. I would like to thank all the staff, district personnel. I didn't get to see all the trustees, but I saw a number of our staff members who were in attendance on that day in the march, and in order to support our local Indigenous community and acknowledge the tragic loss of so many children. Orange Shirt Day recognizes the survivors of the residential school system and those that didn't make it home. The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation was a day for all Canadians to reflect and learn about the trauma experienced by Indigenous communities throughout the country as a result of the residential school system. Conversations and discussions were held in schools throughout the week regarding Orange Shirt Day, Truth and Reconciliation, and how to make a difference. There were visits by honored Indigenous guests, Zingwa dancers, and support from Indigenous education, teachers, and Indigenous support workers. There were also school-wide activities and assemblies that were held during the week. The photo that you can see in front of you was part of Alexander Elementary School's elementary school-wide art project as part of their Truth and Reconciliation Week. Each student painted a feather, and they are placing them on their fences. When they are up, they will look like wings behind the students. So a very different project this year by Alexander. And I want to make a comment on a couple of other schools and the work that they did. At Discovery Elementary last week, they focused on 2 acts of reconciliation. They opened their day in circle. They also acknowledged the territory, and they closed the day in circle. That would be something special that school would have done. But the students also created small art pieces, 2 orange thumbprints on a small piece of wood to create a thumbprint heart, which was displayed on the back fence. Each class also used time over the week to explore the truth part about truth and reconciliation, and the teacher librarian supported classes with this by providing age-appropriate resources. Another story I'd like to tell is around Alex Aiken. Prior to the day of September the 29th of Orange Shirt Day, the Leadership Club put up orange shirt banners around the school. And also what they did is each class created their own territorial acknowledgement, and each class then developed a class territorial acknowledgement. Throughout the year, at school-wide assemblies, a class will be chosen to share their unique acknowledgement. The importance of territorial acknowledgement was discussed at school-wide assembly early in September, and the sharing throughout the year will help keep a focus on truth and reconciliation. So I think as a superintendent, I really want to comment that the change of what we used to do around Orange Shirt Week is really moving into a place of learning and using a variety of resources and different I think, tactics with regard to deepening that learning and understanding overall. Moving on to 8.2.3, World Teachers Day. This day will be acknowledged across the district to recognize the professionalism and commitment of teachers and support staff. So every part of this day, we know that everybody supports our learners across the district. So trustees and the district leadership team will be making some deliveries on Thursday across the district. Moving on to 8.2.4, National Principals Month. After September open board meeting, the board directed the superintendent and board chair to create a plan to recognize and thank principals and vice principals for their outstanding leadership in schools. So we will be acknowledging their excellent leadership at the next principal and vice principals meeting, which is occurring as soon as tomorrow. And then without any further questions, I'll move on to 8.2.5, which is foundational skills assessment. The administration of the Foundational Skills Assessment is scheduled for October 2nd to November 10th of this year. This assessment is an annual province-wide assessment of all BC students' academic skills in grades 4 and 7. It provides parents, teachers in schools and school districts and the Ministry of Education information on how well students are progressing in the foundational skills of literacy and numeracy. Just so to inform the board, I did send a letter to all parents of grades 4 and 7 to inform them of the importance of the foundational skills assessment. And then moving on to the update, there are a few photos, and I know Jason's, the Secretary of Treasury is ready to share those, just a couple. But what I'd like to firstly do is acknowledge our Indigenous education, who really took the lead around our non-instructional day that occurred last week on September the 25th. Also, they did that in collaboration with Cowichan Tribes, Penelakut, and Spatsas, and really thanking them for participating with the school district on our Indigenous focused learning day. And for those of you later on, I'll share with you, I might as well do it now, that the theme for the day was connecting to place, learning, and growing together. The South and Central schools, as well as school district, this school district complex staff were welcomed into the Samana Big House for the morning. And then Quamachin School and Cowichan Secondary were hosts for afternoon activities. In our West schools, which we consider Lake Cowichan, they were welcomed at Spatsat Nation for the morning. And then the Lake Cowichan Secondary School Lake Cowichan School was a host site for Paulson and Lake Cowichan staff for afternoon activities as well. And the North schools were welcomed to Penelakut Island for a full day. It was a wonderful opportunity for school district staff to experience Indigenous culture and learning from Halkidiki people. And we are grateful for all of those Indigenous communities for their hospitality and sharing their culture and their stories. So a great paitsepka to our Indigenous education staff who really took the lead. And thank the Director of Inclusive Learning as well, who helped us to support them in that Indigenous Focus Day. Wanted to share also with the board at our BEBC, there were a number of administrative procedures that were updated. We have 1 new, 5 revised, and 1 removed. And as they were presented at BEBC, they will also be identified in our highlighter. So this information can be shared with all schools and personnel across the school district. Moving on to Cowichan Valley Principals and Vice Principals Association and our Directors of Inclusive Learning. After 5 years that we've been focusing on the deeper learning principles, we are now working collaboratively with our principals and vice principals across the district in our next professional learning journey. And by no means, that does not mean that we haven't done our great work around the deeper learning principles. We know that's what we're going to provide. It's going to be providing us with a foundation around our learning. But now we have two of our principal and vice principal teams who will be doing 2-day workshops on October the 23rd and 24th, and on November 13th and 14th. So we have approximately 13 principals and vice principals working with our directors of inclusive learning with a focus on a time for change. And so we'll be working toward how do we implement some of the best practices, provide them with the skills and the knowledge and the strategies to really work with the staff around the work we're doing around literacy and numeracy. Moving on, this is a time of year teaching staff are very, very busy around district-wide assessments. So the collection of data this fall is important for our work to triangulate the data. And so we know that kindergarten to grade 9 district-wide assessments are occurring all the way up to the end of October. And so we know our district staff are working with our school-based teachers to help them support the assessment and gathering that information and working side by side with our learners. Provincial assessments. So at our secondary schools, we have our literacy and numeracy grade 10 and 12 assessments. The fall grade 10 literacy and numeracy assessments are going on, as well as the grade 12 literacy assessments. And these dates are October 30th to November the 3rd. I'll stop there on assessments, but just so you're aware, many of our students will be taking those on right now. We're going to move on to the Zoo Crew Climb. There's a photo up there. On Friday, September 22nd, the entire Palmerton student body and staff participated in the annual Zoo Crew Climb. Starting at Casper Road, students and staff walked or ran over Mount Suhalem, ending at Providence Farm for a school-wide barbecue. The focus of the day was being on and honoring the land that we live and learn while building a school community. There's a picture up there, but I do want to highlight the great, I know that Anita Tringle was very instrumental in ensuring that all learners are able to do that run. And so you can see here a great opportunity for one of our learners to be on that run in his own little mobile. Fantastic. Moving on, Terry Fox Run. So many district schools held Terry Fox Run recently and raised money for cancer research. Examples at Alexander Elementary and Lake Cowichan School had their annual Terry Fox Run on September the 22nd. Lake Cowichan School had a student-led assembly by the leadership class, which included fundraising from previous weeks, student MCs, student-led warm-up, stretch, pine toss fundraiser, and one student wore his grandfather's original Terry Fox shirt from 1980.
Wow.
And so a few more things. Great BC Shakeout Earthquake Drill will happen on October the 19th at 10:19. Many of our schools will be participating in that Great BC Shakeout. Tour de Rock today and tomorrow, October 3rd and 4th. Tour de Rock is stopping at some of our schools as they travel through Chemainus, Lake Cowichan, Duncan, Shawnigan, and Mill Bay. There's also the National Fire Prevention Week, October 8th through the 14th. Fire Prevention Week seeks to spread awareness about fire safety. The theme this year is Cooking Safety Starts With You. Take attention to fire prevention. It's also Foster Family Month, month of October. It was proclaimed by the province of BC in 1990. Some members of our community have been foster parents for many years, and some are brand new. All are critically important to the health and safety of our province's most vulnerable children, and we recognize and honor these incredible foster caregivers in our community and their dedication in improving the lives of those children who need them. It's also Dyslexia Month in October, and so this will be the 6th annual Dyslexia Awareness Month, which our schools will recognize in many different ways. This year's theme is Stronger Together. And during October, wearing red is a way to celebrate the Market Read campaign for awareness. We're using the resources from Dyslexia Canada to share resources such as dyslexia-friendly reading materials and assistive technologies. Two schools, Alexander Elementary and Cowichan Secondary, have been randomly selected to participate in the 2023 Health Canada Student Alcohol and Drugs Survey. This was formerly known as the Canada Student Alcohol, Tobacco and Drug Survey. And so just so you're aware, those two schools have been randomly selected, but also have given approval to do so. Just want to share with the board that next week on October the 12th.
I have a question, sorry, from trustee Lise.
Just in regards to the drug and alcohol survey, do we get the results back?
We will, yes, we will. Next week on October the 12th, there's a superintendent's meeting with the deputy minister that will be held in Vancouver, and that's next Thursday. As you all are aware, there will many of us will be attending the Vista Fall meeting on October the 13th with myself and you. It is being hosted by the Nanaimo Ladysmith School District. And then on October the 26th, there's the Premier's Awards for Excellence in Education. I will be attending that along with the Director of Inclusive Learning, and this will be held at the Government House on October the 26th. There is somebody who has been nominated and shortlisted in our district, and so we will be there to support. It is not public yet on who that is, but it will be announced by the government very soon. Moving along, I will be in attendance at our BC Superintendent's Island Chapter meeting in Victoria on November 2nd and 3rd. And last but certainly not least, teacher Lydia Batke has been selected from our district to participate in the 24th BC Teachers Institute on Parliamentary Democracy, taking place October 17th to the 21st at the Parliament Buildings in Victoria. The Institute is sponsored by the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly and is an intensive 4-day professional development opportunity for teachers. So congratulations to Lydia. And then just a final bit, I have been able to check in with the Coalmount Prevost, Quamachin, Tanzer, Lake Cowichan School, Paulson, and Crofton at this time. That's the end of my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
No questions? All right. For board action.
Just in your package, you're going to see, or maybe you won't see it in your package, but last year in the spring, you granted approval in basically in principle to allow our Cowichan Valley School French Immersion Student Exchange with Académie de Lyon in Lyon, France from March 9th to April 6th. The school has fulfilled all of their obligation, and so you're going to see here that for your action here today is for you to finally approve that trip and say, yes, they can go. And I want to assure you that there are a number of things that the school has to go through in order to actually work through this final bit, and it would be around insurance, safety plans, contacts, and all the things that they need to keep in their possession while the students do their exchange. So there is an action there.
Any questions for the superintendent before we get to the recommendation? Trustee Kraft?
Just remind me, how many students?
Oh goodness, I believe it's 24.
24 in
Yes,
there, okay.
approximately,
And
yeah.
how many grown-ups?
There will be at least 4. And Grant Mellumstrand, our vice principal, will be leading that trip.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Seeing none. That the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley grants final approval to the following student travel requests. Cowichan Secondary, grade 11, French Immersion Student Exchange, Academia de Lyon in Lyon, France, from March 9th to April 6th, 2024. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Croft. All those in favor? Thank you. Nice, hey? Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. I'm going to start with an information item, just sort of navigating the Zoom. In July, the board submitted the Major Capital and School Infrastructure Program request to the Ministry of Education. And I'm pleased to announce that under the Food Infrastructure Program, which is the capital to support the implementation of the Feeding Futures Fund, the board were successful in receiving $170,000. It's now highlighted here on the capital announcement sheet to upgrade kitchen equipment to provide food programs at the school locations listed here. So we'll be beginning to phase that in over the next year to get those freezers and serveries in place.
Any questions for the Secretary Treasurer?
Okay, so moving on to action, I have 2 action items. So when the board did the big capital work in July, we had yet to do the minor capital. It wasn't due yet at that time. It was due at the end of September. So the major capital were the big things that the board were asking for: new school sites, potentially new schools in the future. Minor capital, I'll go through the list when we get to that, are the smaller things that the board asked for that are beyond our annual facilities grant to do repairs. And so with the food infrastructure program, there's 2 years of it, and we're in year 2, and we are going to be we have asked the ministry for $200,000 to support a phase 2 of Feeding Futures Fund to support the rest of the schools that were not on the list. This is a $5 million fund provincially. We did very well in the first round, and we're hopeful in the second round. And so with that, there's a motion that's required from the board to support that capital submission, even though it's already gone in. We had to get it in on time, but now we need the board to endorse it, and then we'll follow up with the submission to the ministry.
Any questions before we get to the recommendation? Hearing none. In accordance with provisions under section 142(4) of the School Act, the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley hereby approves the proposed 5-year capital plan school infrastructure program for 2024-2025 as provided on the 5-year capital plan summary 2024-2025 as submitted to the Ministry of Education and Childcare. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Boucher. All those in favor?
That's the ministry's motion. It's quite sophisticated. I didn't craft that one myself. So moving on to the minor capital plan submission, there are 9 school buses that do meet the eligibility for replacement. And so we're submitting for all of those with fingers crossed. I don't expect that we'll get 9 school buses but in this round, but we are indicating to them all the buses that have met the replacement schedule. So you see those under CNCP, which is typically, we'll just say this is more of an environmental type fund. This is for HVAC. So we're looking at replacing the boiler at Tanzer Elementary and heat pumps at Bench Elementary. So you can see a total there of $1.6 million. Under the playground replacement fund, we see a submission for $195,000. That's the maximum allowable. And our next school on the list is Coheman. So the board may be aware that you received the Lake Cowichan playground that'll be installed this year. This is the next playground that we're asking for. And then finally, down under the SEP program, we see a replacement of 2 dust collector systems. So this is for the shops in Quamachin, and when it says Duncan Elementary, that's Seabulk, where they have the wood shop out back. So this is the dust extraction, which helps us meet fire codes. And that is our minor capital plan submission.
Any questions for the Secretary Treasurer? So Trustee Sousa, then Trustee Thorn, and Trustee Croft. Trustee Sousa.
Thank you, Chair. Just with regards to the buses, I mean, in reading the description, it doesn't seem like it because they're all, smoky and emissions and whatnot. But just to confirm, none of these are electric buses, right? Like they're all
Mr. Sanquist?
Yes.
All the submissions begin as diesel, and then we source out other grant funding. We make a decision around electric versus diesel. But the range, I believe that for these buses that are in here right now, the electric buses don't have the range that the diesel do. And so I believe that on the runs these buses are on, they're the ones that can't be supported by electric. Although when we do get the announcement, we have the ability to go into other sources of funding to try to make them electric. But they start out as diesels.
Trustee Thorn, then Trustee Croft, then Trustee Doman. Nope.
That was my question. It's been answered. Thank you.
Trustee Doman, did you have your hand up? Trustee Doman.
Only 9 school buses come due all at once.
It's a complex formula of age and kilometers, and 9 school buses just by chance all hit those 2 criteria at the same year. We also submitted, previously, we've had a couple of years where we haven't received any funding on buses, and so some buses have rolled over as well.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Have a motion before us. In accordance with provisions under section 142(4) of the School Act, Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley hereby approves proposed 5-year capital plan, minor capital programs, 2024-2025 as provided on the 5-year capital plan summary for 2024-2025 submitted to the Ministry of Education and Child Care, moved by Trustee Thorn, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you. Committee, Mr. Secretary. Committees and outside organizations. Trustee Thorn, just noticing on the 19th, you have DPAC? You have DPAC on the 19th? And Trustee Croft for Provincial Council, do we have anything that we need to look at or? No? Okay. Is there anything that anybody sees that we may have missed? All right, moving on. We have no correspondence, no new business. Question period. Mr. Sandquist?
So for our 2 gallery guests, if you have a question, we do have the forms at the back where you would put your name, address, and the question that you have related to the agenda. For our online gallery, if you have a question, the same criteria, please put your name and your question and the item related to the agenda in the question and answer. And if you do have a question, if you could just quickly put that into the question and answer so that we know to wait for you to type it in. I'll just give it a moment here as we see if there's any indication that there's a question coming from the online gallery. And there's no indication.
No indication. Thank you for joining remotely, Trustee Strachan. I hope all is well with you. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Okay.